Climbing Vietnam's fourth highest mountain peak, Bach Moc Luong Tu. Author, Kien, published date, July 26, 2020, 12:28 p.m. GMT+7. All photos and content from vnexpress.net. Towering mountain peaks appeared before me as I held tightly onto rocky aiguilles before taking my next step. Bach Moc Luong Tu is a perfect venture for adventurers. Finally, after a difficult trek and heaps of effort, I reached the top of Bach Moc Luong Tu, gripping the peak with my bare hands. For the first time in my life, I was drained of energy from a mountain climb but also faced with a sublime panoramic view of the Vietnamese border. Bach Moc Luong Tu, 3,046 m high, is Vietnam's fourth highest mountain peak, after Phan Xipang, Phuoc and Phu Salung, all in northern Vietnam. The mountain, locally called Ky Quan San after the ethnic village at its base, lies between the northwestern provinces of Lai Châu and Lao Cai. There are two ways to conquer Bach Moc Luong Tu. The first route departs from Sang Ma Sao ward of Bat Zat district in Lao Cai province, whilst the second starts at Sin Sui Ho ward of Phong Tho district in Lai Châu province. The former is recommended and preferred since the route via Lai Châu province passes by Chinese territory and requires a special border pass. When visiting Bach Moc Luong Tu, most hikers opt for the first trail from Sang Ma Sao ward to avoid the additional paperwork. Our Sherpa during the hike was a true, Hmong local from Sang Ma Sao village. A true has over 7 years of experience and knowledge in guiding travelers to northern mountains like Bach Moc Luong Tu, An Hiu Ko San, Siu Nu San, Pa 6, Lao Than, Ta Lin Sun, Phuoc and Nguchi Sun. Therefore, he knew his way around Bach Moc Luong Tu like the back of his hand. That morning I woke up early in Wai Tai commune, then walked to Sang Ma Sao village in Muang Hum commune. The route was fairly easy. At 8 a.m., I arrived at a true's house and waited for the rest of my crew to arrive. At 10 a.m., we began our journey to Bach Moc Luong Tu. Already, the first step seemed steep and hard. From Ky Quan San village, we made our way up the winding and rocky slope, which proved very tricky to climb. As we neared to the top, we encountered an emerald staircase of rice terraces draped over surrounding hills, dotted with Hmong clay houses basking in smoke. The dreamy view seemed to compensate for the laborious climb. There were 8 of us, plus 2 porters who carried our gear. One led the crew and the other monitored our progress from the rear. Engaged, I followed in leader Ada's footsteps. As we continued the journey up the mountain, our view was no longer of rice fields but of fresh cardamom gardens. Since cardamom was in season, locals were busy picking cardamom pods wherever we looked. Not only is it a northern specialty used in many dishes, but also a key ingredient in curing a stomachache or other illnesses. Under the blazing sun, we moved towards a majestic forest that gradually loomed larger. The forest was wild and dense with bushy vines strung between trees. The wind swept through narrow spaces in between trees, making a rustling sound reminiscent of some kind of a monster lurking in the shadows. At that moment, I was scared. The dark and thick forest made me feel like it held the power to hypnotize and disorient me if I were found alone. As if Mother Nature understood how arduous the journey was, we were welcomed by a refreshing spring at noon. Overjoyed, the whole crew quickly jumped in for a much-needed dip. At the same time, a true set off to the side of the path to prepare sesame rice and meat for lunch. Apparently, the challenging and steep route we took this morning was just the warm-up. The real hike awaited us after lunch. The weather was scorching by now and the trail with acute slopes looked much more dangerous. To move forward, the crew crawled, climbed, and wiggled its way through the relief. At 5 p.m., we reached an altitude of 2,100 m and halted at our rest stop where 3 huts were prepared with sleeping bags and bedding. After a nice shower and a foot soak we had dinner. When evening fell, we huddled around a toasty fire pit and enjoyed homemade regional cuisine. The dinner spread was delightful with intriguing dishes like forest greens, grilled pork, and chicken appetizingly served on banana leaves. In the heart of the wild and mysterious forest, the night was silent as we sipped on fragrant rice wine and dined. The meat was indescribably juicy and delicious. After a passionate guitar performance by one of the crew members, we went to sleep in preparation for the packed day ahead. Mue Mountain is the most beautiful spot from where to catch the sunset and sunrise on the journey to Bach Moc Luong Tu. However, yesterday's arduous climb completely exhausted the crew and we missed the sunset. The following morning, we all agreed to wake up early to contemplate the sunrise together. After a mere 5-minute walk from a truce huts, I was standing in front of floating fluffy clouds. The sun shone its morning rays down on the mountain, painting the clouds a light amber that slowly faded to shell pink. No words can describe the hypnotizing beauty of Mue Mountain. We stood in awe of the majestic appeal of nature. The inviting coffee aroma wafted from a truce huts. We quickly trickled back to the lodge to have breakfast before embarking on our second day of trekking. As if to compensate for yesterday's fatigue and soreness, our second day was filled with easier, flatter hikes and a beautiful view. Lined along the trails were beautiful blossoms in yellow, orange, and purple. But as soon as we passed an arresting rhododendron garden, we were greeted by a dreadfully steep slope. Perhaps, no individual has gone on this expedition without a traumatic experience here. The slope ranged from 2,600 to 2,800 m in elevation, requiring me to pass my trekking pole to Ada so I could grip the rocks with my hands. The harder I held onto the rocks, and despite my heavy backpack that anchored me, the more I felt slapped about by the wind. The closer we got to the peak, the more I struggled with breathing and keeping pace due to the drop in air pressure. I grappled with moving forward to the point where my legs were dragging along the ground. Before us was a slippery white slope. Ada said in the past hikers had to use ropes to pull themselves up, but because of how dangerous it was, they built stairs next to it. As Ada expertly climbed his way up to the top without a rope whilst sporting a woven basket full of gear on his back, I felt the utmost respect for him. He looked so gentle and calm as if he was vertically skating on ice. On the other hand, I opted for the staircase to prevent unwanted accidents. Simultaneously, the air pressure and temperature radically dropped as we got higher. The northern fog and glacial air wrapped around us. I did my best to crawl forward as my energy drastically decreased. At one point, I halted and laid in the nut forest. Feeling my frailty, Ada quickly grabbed my hand and dragged me forward. He dragged me for a long distance before I saw the peak of the mountain. Encrusted with Kien San, altitude 3046 m, the peak of Bach Moc Luong Tu appeared before me. An indescribable emotion engulfed me as I realized all my relentless efforts had brought me this magnificent view. I fell to the ground, leaned against the peak and let out a hard-earned sigh. The Chinese mountains briefly flashed through fog holes every now and then before my friends joined me at the top. Everyone wore a bright smile, full of excitement and pride. Rapper Den Va's edgy songs filled the air, beating away our collective tiredness. We sat next to each other on the peak and listened to melodies blending with the wind while inhaling the earthy scent of the woods. This journey was truly one for the books. Before traveling. Transportation: if departing from Sa Pa Town or Wai Tai Commune, you can either rent a motorbike or hop on a coach to reach the Muang Hum intersection. The road is wide enough for a 6-seater car. However, a rental motorbike is recommended since the path is beautiful and you might want to stop along the way for some pictures. When to go: the most optimal period for your Bach Moc Luong Tu conquest is from August to May. The rainy season lasts from June to July, during which the trails are slippery and dangerous. July is to be especially avoided since the winds are extremely strong and violent. Guide/porter: there are 2 reasons why you need to hire a porter for your hike. Firstly, the trails can get deadly dangerous. Secondly, some have reportedly climbed the mountain alone only to mysteriously disappear without ever being found. Also, porters are skilled experts and can prevent disorientation during the route. A true is our recommendation since he was very friendly and enthusiastic during our trip. His contact number is 0914402295. Sleeping accommodation, at an altitude of 2100 m, there are many Hmong huts where one can spend the night. These huts are fully equipped with bedding and sleeping bags. An additional cost of VND 50,000, $2, is charged for a shower, and a medicinal foot soak costs VND 20,000, 90 cents. Food: all of our meals were made with local ingredients from the village, including livestock like chicken and pork, forest vegetables, corn wine, and rice wine. For breakfast we had rice porridge, fried rice, and rice balls with sesame salt. Duration: for those who are less active with less stamina, a 3-day and 2-night trip is recommended. More active and stronger hikers can opt for a 2-day and 1-night trip. Costs: the cost is VND 1.4 million, $60, for the trip if you depart from Sapa. If you choose to be picked up by a porter from Muang Hum, the cost is less at VND 900,000, $39. Hiking gear: you will need trekking poles, hiking shoes, hiking gloves, a wide brim hat, flashlight, and medicine. Su Kien, 28, is from the central province of Quang Ngai and lives in Ho Chi Minh City. She travels around Vietnam and writes books and a travel blog. This video is created automation by computer program. Please subscribe channel for new videos. Thanks for watching.